Welcome to Legacy Elevated. We are here to equip, empower, and inspire the next generation through business and community leaders. Legacy Elevated will revolutionize your business beyond the P&L to further shape your identity as a company and your evolution as a brand. Legacy Elevated focuses on global impact you can have by being hyper-local in charity and community while living with your future legacy in mind.
We're excited today at Legacy Elevated to feature Bruno Campos, who works with the Nellis Group. He's been with the Nellis Group for over 6 years, and we really want to understand his approach to business, life, and everything else. So we're excited to feature a local, a native of Washington, D.C. metro area, Bruno Campos.
Woo! It's okay. Hold your applause. Hold your applause.
It's always fun when someone brings their own cheering group, which
is
themselves.
I know. But we need that, right? I mean, especially in these times here where we're doing our social distancing. I mean, I think it's good to have it out there. But
you remind me of that old Starbucks commercial where the guy's walking down the street and he's bringing the band with him, and you're a musician. What's the band he's bringing him with him? Do you remember?
Actually, what band was it? Did he have a?
They also sang Survivor.
Oh. Well, no, they are Survivor.
See?
They sang Eye of the Tiger.
Actually, and wasn't it Eye of the Tiger that they were singing?
So it was Eye of the Tiger because it was like, rising up. No, but yeah, they've got
I was waiting for them to break into music. Yeah. I knew if I brought up that commercial,
that's right.
we would hear it.
You know what the great part about that is? So their lead singer is the one that wrote that song, Eye of the Tiger. And he kept all those rights to their music. So he let them keep the name Survivor, but he kept all the rights to the music because he wrote it all. And he's actually, he's just been doing jingles for folks, and that's how he's just been making money all this time. So I'm sure he made a pretty penny too, having that song resurface.
And back in that day, that wasn't typical for a musician to keep the rights.
No. So he definitely did well off that song. I mean, I'm sure Rocky didn't hurt either.
Well, let's focus on you today, which is usually your favorite topic.
Well played. Well played.
So let's go back in time, because it's very rare in the DC area to have a true native. So don't carry us back to diapers and beyond, but but
I don't know if I remember that far back.
But let us know what it's like for you to really have been born here, right?
Yeah, I'll give you the birthplace only because it matters. But it was here in Washington D.C., right at Sibley Memorial Hospital. Is where I was born, and haven't gone too far since. So I've for the bulk of my time I've lived in Northern Virginia, lived in Fairfax County and in Loudoun County, and actually the house I'm in right now is 3 streets down from the house I grew up with in middle school and high school. So good old Ashburn, the Burn, as it's colloquially known.
The Burn, I love it. Yeah, well, and when you first told me that, I was like surprised, because not many people can say, hey, I was born in D.C. And I stayed truly local. You went to college?
Yep, I went to American University right here in D.C. My dad works at the Brazilian embassy here. I'm first generation American, so I also speak Portuguese and Spanish. And so, it's a great place to be. I mean, it's definitely a melting pot of just different cultures and things like that. So I love being able to use my languages as well to help clients, in real estate too.
Yeah. So, what did you study at American?
Business management. I originally went there to go to the School of International Service to do international relations. I took one politics course, world politics. Realized I didn't like it at all. I would probably use a stronger adjective, but I didn't like it at all. And politics have never been my thing, and that's when I switched just to business administration, and focused on that.
Yeah, we were introduced by a Nellis Group VIP years ago, and I got a chance to see Bruno and his other hobbies, and I got a chance to see him play live on stage at Whitlow's.
Whitlow's on Wilson.
Right there in Wilson and in North Arlington. We'll get back to your hobbies in a moment, but talk about, did you leave college and go right into real estate? Walk me through your professional career.
Sure. So before I got into real estate, I was in technology consulting, and that's when you had met me, right? When fellow Nellis Group VIP had introduced us, and So I've known James for a long time. Oof. And knew him for a long time before I got into real estate. And for me doing technology consulting, the great part was, when you're talking to clients, your whole goal is, what is the issue that's happening, right? What's the problem they need to solve, right? And your whole goal is putting together the solution that's going to solve their problem, the current problem, and then, kind of future-proof it. That's what you're doing. And so I feel like that was a great transition when I, after 14 years of doing that, I realized I'm not as excited about this. And that's actually when I called you and I said, "Hey James, I'm thinking about real estate." And you're like, "Oh." And if you know James, you know that he doesn't pull punches. He just tells you like it is. And sometimes you'll print a much more realistic picture than you even want to hear about. And he's just said, "Well, come on in. I'll tell you exactly what a day in the life's like, and and you can meet kind of the team leader of the brokerage that we're under here." So I said,
"We didn't scare you off, huh?"
Yeah, and so you told me exactly like it was. I met the team leader there at the time for the brokerage office, and the next day we connected, and I was still interested in real estate. So, but you painted the picture and just said, "Look, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hours. A lot about what we do is just putting in the time, and serving. And so a lot of times you can put in that time, and it doesn't come to a home sale or things like that, but that's why you focus on serving the client. And I think that was really important. And you did tell me, hey, this could put a strain on your family life in terms of like with the kids, because there are a lot of I didn't have kids then, but there is a lot of time involved.
Yeah, because in real estate, there's almost no off switch, right? Especially with how technology has augmented it and brought the consumer right in with it, right? Many times they're perhaps sending you properties before you've even seen it. So let's talk about the leverage that you have from your technology background that probably the typical agent doesn't have. And I'll even admit that there's been things you've taught me in technology that I didn't know. So talk about what's the leverage that you bring from your past career that helps the consumer today?
Yeah. I think a big thing for me is leveraging the technology to give them the best experience possible. It's also been great in the sense that, especially during COVID, to be able to show folks the full experience. So you're not just videoing the inside of the house, right? I mean, they could see a 3D tour in that, but what are you doing, right? You're making sure that you can safely video the drive up to the house and the drive through the neighborhood, so they at least get a feel for it, right? Obviously, be safe, especially in Virginia now. You got to be hands-free. So make sure you have that mount on your dash where you can throw the phone up and then just drive through the neighborhood. The nice part about that is they're getting a feel for the neighborhood, especially with relocation clients. We've always worked with a lot of military families, so it's no change from that, and helping these military families that physically don't set foot in the house until they come here to actually move in. It's the same idea, but that's helped me out a lot. Also, just getting people information. I leverage a lot of collaboration technology. So I'm using things like Google Drive. I'm using things, I'm using YouTube videos that are just for the consumer, but things like that where they can get all the information in one spot, and then they can also send me things that they like or don't like. And so I leverage technology a lot for that.
Now, I know you're a competitive person and that you love to win, and you have a sports background, and I know you love everything Washingtonian when it comes to sports. Yes. Talk about winning. When buyers come in or sellers are in this hyperactive market that we're in right now, which we're a cyclical market, but right now it is a seller-dominated market. So talk about how you're winning for your sellers and how you're winning for your buyers or investors.
Sure. Well, winning for the sellers, it's the biggest thing is just knowing how to negotiate and knowing how to leverage other offers to get them the best offer, and that's a big part of it. On the buy side, it's been crazy right now. You're seeing 10 to 11 to I think one of my latest ones there were 14 other offers. competing against. And the important thing is really making sure your client knows all the levers they can pull to have the strongest offer possible, but also understanding that we don't want our clients to overpay for a house. And our advice is always going to be driven with, you can do A, B, and C. If you choose to do B and C, we're going to make you sign a paper that says that you're waiving these certain things, because for us it's not about selling a home. It's about making sure they're making the best investment and that we're negotiating them the best terms. So, when our clients have kind of gone through that, I always tell them, look, you put your best foot forward. We'll tell you everything that you can do and that you feel comfortable, right? If it happens with that house, it happens, right? And it was meant to be. If it doesn't, it wasn't meant to be with that one. You'll get the house you're supposed to.
Yeah, and to your credit, I've seen multiple people come to you after they've worked with other agents, lost out, not been able to get the home of their dreams, and then you've been able to work with them, and within 1, 2, maybe even 3 homes, now they're in a new home.
Yep, and the great part with that one actually is those are friends of mine that end up getting recommended to me, and they won on the second home. The first one, the old cash offer, came into play. I'm actually helping their parents now. So they're relocating from New York, and so we've been looking at properties there. And in this market right now, you are seeing people overpay, and you're seeing people put in naked offers. Completely removing all contingencies. Like, you sign that paper, you're buying that house. Right. Like, it doesn't matter what the appraisal happens. And I think that's a time, especially right now, where you need to have, someone like the Nellis Group on your side.
Absolutely. A little self-love right there for the Nellis Group. I love it. Let's talk about this. Real estate is really relationship-based, right? And you've done a great job of being able to work with prior colleagues, current friends, and all of those things. And let's focus in on you as the person when it comes to hobbies. We've seen where there's an attraction just based on what you love to do outside of the real estate world. So can you give us maybe 2 or 3 hobbies that really light you up, right? That you get excited about?
Do I have any hobbies? Let me see.
Let me answer that for him. He does, and he has one of the craziest schedules I've ever seen because of his hobbies. So share some of those.
Yeah, so I've been playing guitar since I was 10. So I started performing out in bands freshman year in college. Should I date myself? Anyway, so like 99, 2000. That's when I was out playing with bands at my first band there in college. And the great part is now, I've played all the major venues in the DC metro area. Tally Ho out in Leesburg. I've played the State Theater in Falls Church. I've played the Fillmore over in Silver Spring in Maryland. So it's it's a lot of fun. I still think the biggest crowd. Well, I don't think this is definitely the biggest crowd I played for was with my Dave Matthews tribute band, Crowded Streets, which is still playing today. They're awesome. We played Shamrock Fest at RFK on the stadium grounds, and we played right after Mr. Green Jeans. And then it came to us, and it was like everyone, you could, as soon as Mr. Green Jeans finished, you saw everyone. And if you're from anywhere on the East Coast, you've heard of Mr. Green Jeans, probably the biggest like cover band that's ever happened over this way. Besides, I guess now the leg warmers with their 80s thing. But the crowd kind of started to walk away from that stage, and we were on the stage right next to there. So we were right next to the main stage there. And you could see the crowd walk away, and then we went in. I want to say we started with Trippin' Billy's, so a Dave Matthews tune. And as soon as we went into that, you could then just see like the whole wave the whole wave like start to slide over and then come towards the stage. And so it was just really, really cool. But just getting to play for a bunch of different people and toured up and down kind of like the Northeast, as far south as South Carolina. With Crowded Streets. So it's a lot of fun. I still play acoustic, solo acoustic stuff now. I play in an acoustic trio. I've got my own full band stuff, the Bruno sound, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and I always tell people it helps me keep my sanity. Just getting to play music and just be, have that artistic release.
Yeah, I saw that even in COVID, where you were playing in your living room and setting for that up.
Oh, yeah.
And I mentioned to him, I was like, well, this is a little bit different of a stage. And you said that. You said, music feeds my soul, and this is my opportunity to really help others who might feel loneliness or feel, awkward during this time of COVID. So very cool way to use, your talent.
Yeah, that's fun.
Soccer.
Oh, yeah. I dabble in that. I'm a little out of shape right now, but definitely played soccer my whole life. As I mentioned, first generation American, and my whole family is from Rio de Janeiro. So, it was Brazilian, Brazilian national soccer team, right, was on the TV. And I still remember, vividly, the 94 World Cup, when we won that. And so just, having, I think there were like 50 people over at the parents' house, and we had, had all like just everything up, all the Brazilian stuff up, and we had Brazilian feast going on, rice, black beans, farofa, picanha, all the good stuff. And it was just a lot of fun, and kind of growing up with that. And I love the fact that I can go out and play with my kids now. I mean, they all love it. My son Nino, he's always like, "Papai, when are we going to play soccer? Let's go kick the ball." I'm like, okay. So, he loves it. So they're going to get started back up with soccer here in the next couple of weeks.
Nice.
So,
well, and it's rare that I find someone who is truly entrenched into Washingtonian professional sports, even more than myself. And I would say that about you. Now, here, let me throw you for a loop here.
Uh-oh.
Out of the top Washingtonian professional sports,
Okay.
if you could only watch one,
Oh, man, this is hard.
which one would you choose?
This is hard. If you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have said the Skins, Washington football team.
Yes.
But it's hard, man. For me right now, because my love for hockey has grown so much, and it was actually my bass player in Crowded Streets. I remember it was probably 2008, 2009. We were down in Greenville, North Carolina. We're down at ECU, and they just go. They're like, "Hey man, turn on the TV. The game's on." And I'm like, "What game's on?" And the Caps were in the playoff. And I watched that playoff hockey game. And if you guys have never watched playoff hockey, do yourself a favor and watch a playoff hockey game. Definitely a Caps game. But watch playoff hockey. It was so exciting, and I've every year I've just gotten more and more into it, and so I'd probably have to say the Capitals at this point as far as DC sports now, because just the excitement. I do believe it's also the best fan. Not right now during COVID, but it's the best fan experience when you're there. Like there's no other. As much as I love the Skins, FedEx Field is not fun. RFK was fun. Everything would shake. Like when you were on the bleacher, everything, that whole stadium would shake. FedEx Field, not so great. But going to a Capitals game, going to Capital One Arena is unbelievable, and I think it's the best fan experience. And then, the Nationals were the baseball in general was kind of the last sport for me in terms of just following it. Like I love going to games. I've always loved going to games, but not watching on TV. But probably about 4 years ago, I started watching baseball on TV. And so I love the Nats and also the Wiz. So it's great, man. It's a lot of fun, but I'd probably have to say Caps, which my answer would have been different, like I said, 5 years ago, where it just would have been Skins. But I don't miss a game if I don't have to. I know with Caps it's harder because there's more games, but if I don't have to miss a game, I don't.
And as you know, I love sports. And so I'm going to ask you a question that I don't think all of our agents or staff or employees at the Nellis Group could name this, but I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to name a Washingtonian team.
Oh, man.
And then you've got to give me your favorite player, number, and why. Kind of a speed drill through Washingtonian sports.
Oh, my goodness.
Are you ready?
I guess.
We're going to make it easy. Go with your first one you just mentioned. Washington Capitals.
I'm gonna have to go with OV number 8, grade 8.
And why?
I mean, it's unbelievable. Do you know that through his entire career, and when did he come in the league? It's crazy. I think 2005.
Yeah, he's been in for over 13 years now.
Yeah, I think he's only missed like 40 games, 45 games. I mean, that's unbelievable when you're talking about 80-some games a year. I mean, that's unbelievable, right? I mean, you think about that, and part of the reason he missed the games here was because he was in COVID protocol because someone that he was in close contact with had COVID. So, you know what I mean? It's unbelievable. So just his longevity, his the excitement, and the fact that he always says a Russian machine never breaks, which is always great too.
Washington football team.
Okay.
Favorite player, number, and why?
I'm gonna go Art Monk, 81, taking it back. Such a good guy. I remember standing in line. I don't have this water bottle anymore, by the way, but I was standing in line. I had a Skins water bottle, and I was standing in line with my dad at Errol's Video to get Art Monk's autograph on my Redskins water bottle. Really nice dude. I remember the interaction being great. I don't remember anything that was said, but I remember the interaction being great and me just being completely starstruck. But 81, good old Art Monk.
Washington Bullets. I got to go with that name versus the Wizards. So Washington Bullets or Wizards?
Oh man, this one's tough. The first Wiz game I ever went to, Michael Jordan was playing in it. It's the first Wizards game I ever went to, and so that's when he had come over here.
Was he number 23?
He was 23. He was 23 here. And before I, had gone to that game, I would watch basketball every now and again, but I would literally watch Michael Jordan play. Like, I would watch basketball to watch him play. Not even cheering for the Bulls per se, but I just wanted to just see greatness. And I would watch him because WGN was a Chicago station that you would get here in the area, so you could watch these Bulls games there. So like just getting to watch greatness. And so when he came here, obviously, much older at that point, but you're still just like, man, this guy's just crazy good. Yeah. And so I was proud that I at least got to see him play live, albeit, not for the Bulls at that time, but that was the first game that I went to, first NBA game I ever went to.
Washington Nationals.
Man. I don't know, man. It's hard to get away from Mr. National, just because of the classic Mr. National the Zimmerman, the Zim.
Ryan Zimmerman number.
Oh man, I'm gonna go 11.
It's good you go that when I hold it up and you.
Well, I was gonna. So in my head I was gonna go 11, and I was but I was also kind of leaning towards the first jersey that I got, and I wanted to make sure that I got a Nationals jersey. It was the first baseball jersey I've ever purchased in my life. And I wanted to make sure that it was a player that was going to be here for at least a few years, right? Because you know how you get a jersey and then they're not here anymore. But it's Max Scherzer. That's the first jersey I got, and I got the blue one with the red, white, and blue curly W on it. And so that jersey's great, and Scherzer's been incredible for us. Old, blue brown eye. They call him Brown Eye, I guess. But, Scherzer's fantastic. And then the second jersey I got was actually the Juan Soto jersey because he's incredible.
Now, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge your knowledge right here.
Uh-oh.
We're going to stay professional, and we're going to go into women's. So you're a soccer fan. I'm going to go with Washington Spirit. Favorite player, number, and why?
I've never seen the Washington Spirit play.
We are now going to cut that out of the podcast. We are going to go women's professional sports, and I'm going to go with the Washington Mystic or Mystics.
Never seen them play. But I know that
we do have honesty.
I do.
We do have the MVP. We did win a championship.
Della Don.
There you go.
So I know. Look, I at least know the player, but I've never seen them play. But yeah. So I at least know that Della Don is on there.
All right, we're now going to finish with the favorites. This you have to say first thing that comes to your mind, as I drop you through this. Are you ready?
So you're going to give me a word?
I'm going to give you a word, and you're going to have to say first thing that comes to mind.
This is dangerous. Is this being recorded?
And this has to be good for the audience as well, Bruno.
Wow.
So, favorite season? First thing comes to mind.
Fall.
Favorite musical artist?
Incubus.
Favorite song? First thing.
I know. I'm completely blanking.
Okay. Favorite cartoon?
Bugs Bunny.
Favorite movie?
John Wick.
Favorite book?
Fanatical Prospecting.
Favorite podcast? Besides ours, of course.
Legacy Elevated.
Favorite president?
I don't like any of them.
Throughout entire time. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Favorite quote?
Make it do what it do.
Thank you, Bruno, for joining us.
I can do another one on that one.
You want a different quote?
Yeah.
I probably would. I would probably put you in a different quote. All right. Favorite quote?
Here we go. Favorite quote? I'm going to go with, there'll be no regrets when the words come, and they shall sure become.
Very poetical to finish with. Thank you again, Bruno, for joining us on Legacy Elevated as we feature you as the hyper-local expert in the DMV.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the Legacy Elevated podcast, where we reveal the ways to impact the world and leave a legacy that empowers the next generation. Follow us at Legacy Elevated on YouTube and Instagram. And if you have a business that can inspire others, reach out to us today.
So today on Legacy Elevated, we are featuring Book Club, which is a fun rendition of part of what we created in the culture of the Nellis Group as a real estate company. We decided it's more about selling homes. It's really about developing the individual and what that looks like year after year. And I'm excited today to have with us Bruno Campos, who's been with us for just over 6 years. And we want to talk a little bit about Book Club and what it's meant to you and kind of your experience with it. So when you came in, did you ever have to do this before in your other industries you worked in?
No, Book Club was a new fun thing at the Nellis Group. It's not something I had to do before I got into real estate.
Well, and I like where you almost use air quotes as fun. It's a requirement, right? It's a mandated part of our culture because we really want to develop someone in what we call the 4 pillars, which is business, wealth, health, and personal growth. And the Book Club really focuses on that personal growth. So we spend time with business books as well as life books. And we'll put Bruno on the spot here. Bruno, over the last 6 years, maybe we'll talk about 2 or 3 books that you've experienced that has shaped or redefined how you approach business or life.
Oh man, well let me go back to the beginning. Really, I'll start. No, I'm just kidding. The books that I've really liked, one that always comes to the top is Fanatical Prospecting, and that's one that I've always loved in the sense that it just every time you read it. And I've read it several times now over the past 6 years. Not all mandated. Some of it I did on my own. But it just puts you in that frame of mind to just understand that you've always got to be speaking with people. I mean, that's what we have to do. I mean, that's what real estate is. Real estate is, serving the clients that we work with, but then also just meeting new people and how can we serve more and more people and meet more and more people. And so it's having those conversations. So knowing that you always have to have the conversations to meet new people.
Yeah. And Fanatical Prospecting with Jeb Blount. And what's interesting about that book, and maybe we'll give some teasers about it, but give me a couple things that come to mind. So I know when you open the book, the first thing it says is that prospecting, and we'll use my version, prospecting stinks. Now get over it and start prospecting. So what are some kind of teaser dialogues or things that jump out from the book that could get some consumers excited about reading it?
Well, I mean, I think it works for, really any industry, and I think the best part is really book the appointment. It's you're on the call. Great. Are you you're not going to close someone on a phone call, right? I mean, it's really about booking the appointment. So it's like, step 1 through 9 is book the appointment, of those steps.
Yeah. And I've heard some people get worried about that, of feeling, well, hey, I'm in sales. Let me just break it to everyone listening to this. You're in sales no matter what you do. Right? You're selling your opinion if you're an attorney. You're selling your designs if you're an architect. Even if you're in some type of a faith or place of worship, you're selling that to your quote-unquote consumer. And the fun thing about real estate and what I've experienced is that we're helping serve them in what they already need. Right? It's fulfilling Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Right? It's in the top 3 of, hey, people need a place to live. Share a little bit about, they call it disruptive language, right? What do they mean by that in the book when it's talking about when you're having a conversation with a consumer?
Taking a consumer down a different path and just saying, look, stop your normal way of thinking. Here's why we're different, right? And that allows you to do that by kind of disrupting the normal conversation that they're used to hearing.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's think more about culture. What's a book that we've read together as a company that is about culture?
Oh, man. So many options, so many books. I would say a big one about, culture is going to be probably my favorite is probably Getting Unbusy. And really it's about like the culture of your day, and what that looks like and how, we sometimes just in life run around with, like chickens with our heads cut off and everything's on fire, everything's this and that. But when you really break it down, what are the most important things you can do every day that are going to, push your business forward?
Well, it's got to be hard for you. I mean, we've watched you grow as a family and really get enveloped in the business of real estate, which can be very time consuming. There's kind of no off switch, right? You've got twins and a son and balancing. You're probably working with at least 10 to 15 clients at a time. So how did you take that book and apply it in your life?
Most important thing was really just breaking down the day. So, I mean, literally taking it down to blocks. Like, what are the blocks that I have in place that I can, that I will do A, B, and C in? And, if A are the things I need to have done to push the business forward, if B is that prospecting time where I'm reaching out to, new folks that don't know me, if C is make sure I have in case there's fires time, right, to look at emails and to respond to things, and that was a big thing. I mean, my daughters are 9 and my son's 6, so they're starting to get back into kind of the sports swing now too. So kind of having that figured out where we've got gymnastics here, we've got soccer there, and getting everyone where they need to be. So it's a lot, but blocking out the days and knowing here's what I'm doing A, B, and C, each day has really helped.
We love the perspective of culture and how it can be shaped or redefined by books that we bring in from outside. Energy bus. I know we joke all the time about energy vampires.
Gotta stay away from them.
And how we don't want them within our culture. Top CEOs, top companies, when they're reviewed, it's interesting. People don't stay at a company because of money. Now, it's always in the top 3, but typically it's number 1 is who's your direct supervisor. Number 2 is what's the culture of the company. And Bruno, you've been with us for over 6 years. Can you kind of define to you personally what you see as the culture at the Nellis Group?
Definitely. I think that the biggest thing, and you've said it before, hungry, humble, smart, is something big that you preach all the time, and really just making sure that when you're here, you understand that our greater good is serving what we're doing, right? If you're always focused on the money aspect, I mean, like you just mentioned, and you've got that commission breath, no one wants to work with you, right? It becomes a transaction, and that's not what we do, and that's not why I originally even got into real estate. For me, I've always loved the concept of home, and helping families find, a refuge and a safe place for their families, right? A place where they can, really call their own. And so that's always been something really cool. And so every family that I help, it's just something that, kind of pushes that forward. And I think that's, I don't take that lightly. And that's, that's part of it as well, right? Like people that are, if you're hungry and humble and like you want to just keep helping families and you're focusing on the greater good, that's when you're going to succeed in this business. That's when you're going to succeed here at the Nellis Group, because there have been times where people will come in and end up having the wrong mind frame, after we're trying to get them in, enveloped in our culture. And, we've kind of learned over the years sometimes that, you can't teach that. So that person, you can give them the knowledge they need and they can pull from, the experience of the Nellis Group. I mean, being around since '83, as a company, you don't go from a family business of just, a handful of folks to, the company we are today without, really having a strong culture and really knowing what works here.
Yeah, and that's what I love about Book Club is we really focus on the greater good, the greater human, and how do we really provide that atmosphere for those that work with us, and as well as the consumers and the clients that come to us throughout the year. So tune in for our book club and what we're reviewing, what we're reading next, and we're excited to share with you our entire book list. You can go on to Legacy Elevated /books to see what we're reading next.
Book Club.